What's up, guys? It's Jenna with Dog Liaison, where I coach you on how to enhance your dog's mental health. If you're new here, welcome. I am a positive reinforcement dog trainer, and I break down scientific research to inform us on how to educate and train our dog. We're talking about a pretty uncomfortable topic today. I was sent this video of Zak George taking his dog Inertia to the dog park, and I haven't seen all of it. I've only seen part of it thus far. We're gonna watch it together. But the little parts that I have seen, I have some thoughts on. The primary thought being, this is why people hate positive reinforcement trainers. In an effort to vindicate positive reinforcement training and attest that this is not effective positive reinforcement training, we're gonna watch the video together. So let's get started.
Really excited about today's lesson because it's a little bit different. We are at our local park. There's a dog park over there. So I want to do some training to start to improve communication with her when there are dogs nearby. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that.
So already we can see in her stiff body language, you can see that she's kind of boxy. And I know that border collies are boxy anyway, but you can see how she's got her head low and her shoulders are scrunched, and to the point where her rear legs are actually higher than her top legs. You can see that her body just kind of looks awkward standing there. And already we can see that she's like on edge.
For example, just because she listens to me around our other dog, Indy, doesn't mean that she's going to listen to me around any dog.
That's an excellent point.
Can do. Come on, girl. The first thing I'd like to do.
Oh my gosh. Okay. She literally was just already putting on the stops. In the middle of the street, in the middle of the parking lot, it looks like, she was putting on the brakes, stopping, saying, I can't go forward. And he literally was just like, come on, let's go. So guys, this is exactly how reactivity starts. As soon as the dogs start saying, hey, I can't move forward, I need to stop, right here's my limit, we need to be listening to that. And if he's really so confident that his dog is going to be comfortable there, then clearly when he stops, she'll just start walking again, right? Like that would be the idea. If she's also comfortable, she's just going to keep walking if he stops, right?
I think I'm ready to move forward now and see how she does being closer. Again,
I think I'm ready to move forward. Has your dog indicated that she's ready to move forward? Because from what I see, she's got her mouth closed and a stiff body language and a sit. So she's not indicating to me that she wants to move forward.
so now we're much closer, and she's being really reserved right now, really well behaved. You know, recently.
Are reserved and well behaved the same thing?
A dog that went by, and she tends to do that on walks when we see a dog. I mean, she really is curious.
So he knows that this dog is reactive. He knows that his dog has some things that she needs to work through, and he's just going to take his reactive dog to the dog park for the first time and see how it goes. Wonderful.
About dogs, and that's fine. So when we talk about desensitizing your dog to being around other dogs, this is precisely what we're talking about. In general, I like to do these in 30-minute chunks, 1-hour chunks, just hanging out, not doing a whole lot of anything. I'm not asking her for too much at all right now.
Guys, here's the problem with having 2.14 million subscribers, okay? The problem with that is that you end up talking to the mass public. And when you talk to the mass public and you talk to a lot of people in one short condensed video, you have to speak in generalities. When you talk in big grotesque phrases like that, you are setting standards that aren't necessarily accurate for the general public. Taking your dog to a dog park and working on the outside of a dog park for 30 minutes to an hour is a really, really, really long time, okay? Now, she's 6 months old, and I know that he makes a lot of videos, so let's give him the argument that, well, she trains for long periods of time for a lot of days, and she's accustomed to it. Even in that case, the vast majority of Zak George's audience is not working their dog that often every single day to build up the tolerance, if you will, to be working a dog for a half hour to an hour. That is such a long time. The longer a dog is under pressure, the more cortisol they have, the more stress they're under, the more likely it is that they're gonna make mistakes and have issues. So I already know that there's some sort of biting incident that happens in the coming up, and Now I know why. It's because he was there for an hour. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have issues the longer you work your dog.
Significance of that is she's doing something a little harder than sit. In this case, wave. Wave is something I don't ask her to do quite as often. We lied out. Look at that. I'm standing completely up and she just lied down. In other words, I didn't have to point to the ground or lure her. So this indicates a semi-responsive dog. Let's walk over here a little bit.
Probably those behaviors have a conditional emotional response, which is positive, and that means that she enjoys just doing the behavior themselves, which is wonderful. That's how it should be. Training, you know, any dog should enjoy a behavior, every behavior they do. So doing these self-reinforcing behaviors like tricks, like just teaching a spin and taking it into a stressful environment can absolutely desensitize the environment. And I use that all the time with my clients.
See the loose leash here? Just feet away from the dog park.
So he mentions the loose leash, which, okay, cool, there's a loose leash, but he's not mentioning why the loose leash is there. So for example, when I take my clients out for walks, a lot of times they're like, oh, look, my dog is on a loose leash. And I'm like, yeah, but the loose leash is there because they're apprehensive. The loose leash is there because they don't want to walk away from you and they don't want to approach whatever that stimuli is there. So there's a difference between a dog that wants to approach something and is still walking nicely on the leash or is still showing a little bit of impulse control, which is delayed gratification, versus what's happening here with Inertia, which is that she doesn't really want to approach, but she's not showing any indication that she wants to move forward, so of course there's going to be a loose leash.
Now that's interesting. I think she was doing just fine, but now her hair is
Just fine.
up. She's a little uncertain. She's like, wait a minute.
All of a sudden, it's a miracle.
It's okay.
Oh my God. Who could have seen it coming?
See, this is the kind of behavior that, while natural, we want to minimize.
It's not natural.
Let's see what happens if I call.
Okay. Reactivity on a leash is not natural. Just because it's normalized and just because it's common doesn't mean it's natural.
Unresponsive, come when called.
I like that he gave the loose leash again. Good walk-in. I like that walk-in that he just did. That walk into her was perfect. You definitely want to continue doing that. You don't want to pull her away.
Inertia, come on, let's go. Over here.
Ah, crap. I literally just gave him kudos and he's about to go pull that dog again. He worked so well to step into her and set it up and everything, and then he turns around and pulls her, and I was so proud of him. We were doing so well, guys.
Let's get a little closer and see what happens. So there's a dog over.
So his dog just went over threshold. I don't know how many minutes are in between this. We'll never know how many minutes are in between this. But his dog just went over threshold and he's already walking her back up to the gate.
Now, I've got to tell you, in general, I'm not really a huge fan of going inside of dog parks because there are so many different personalities and you just don't know if all the dogs are going to be good with other dogs. But I'm looking around here. There's not that many dogs in there, and they all seem to be doing pretty well together. So this might be a good opportunity to give Inertia some additional socialization experience.
He thinks that after working his dog for 30 minutes in a brand new environment, and she's already been showing all of these stress signals, her tail's been between her legs, she's been licking her lips, she scratched herself at the very, very beginning of getting there, she's demonstrating a lot of stiff body language, she's stopped herself multiple times, she's backed up multiple times, she has been on edge when a dog came up to the fence, she's gone over threshold and barked at another dog, and he thinks that after 30 minutes of all of that, her body, just on a reasonable chemical level, her body can handle going into a dog park for the first time. Listen, guys, anytime your dog goes over threshold, adrenaline is being released, which means there's an immense amount of cortisol being released. Anytime that happens, it takes a lot of time for a dog to come back down to homeostasis, anywhere from an hour to 72 hours, depending on what the incident was. So, I mean, he's been there for, let's approximate 30 minutes, maybe, and he's now made his dog go over threshold now twice, and she's already barking at dogs through the fence. She's pulling on the leash. She's demonstrating stiff body language. Her posture is awkward. Her tail is often tucked between her legs, and he thinks that it's still reasonable to take the dog in the park. Like, don't do that, guys. Don't do that.
We're gonna let her check things out here. Just kind of smell around, take it in. She's a little nervous. You can see her tail's in between her legs.
Oh, she's looking for a flight response, guys. She's looking for a flight response. Look at those ears. Her mouth is closed. She's even got, it looks like she's even got a little bit of a smile, like a smile, we call them, where those just like the lips are pulled off to the side. Her ears are back. Her tail is tucked. She's standing in a triangle now, which is even worse than a square. She's got her body all the way up against the fence. She's looking for a flight response. And if a dog approaches her right now, she could very easily turn into fight just because she doesn't have a flight availability.
Feeling she'll open up in a little bit. This is pretty typical of her behavior, like in puppy.
Oh my God, it's typical of her behavior. You guys, if you do have a dog that's this sensitive, it's not necessarily a testament to you. You know, we have to work through that, but don't take your dog to the dog park. Like, if you know that your dog has issues with dogs and with environments like this, why would you decide today is the day to take your dog to the dog park for the first time? I don't understand. Poor dog.
She was like this initially. I'm just gonna give her time and let her open up on her terms. Good girl. Yeah, nice job.
So, I know that this is going to be a little bit confusing for some of you, but the jump up that she just did on him was another way of choosing flight. It's a way of saying, I need out of here. It's a way of displaying stress and discomfort. And when she feels like she can't rely on herself to solve a problem, she's going to resolve to someone who does usually solve her problems, like her owner. And that jump up on him was very much like a, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God, I'm stressed. I need your help. And his response is, yeah, good girl, here's a treat. And it's like, you don't want to feed fear necessarily. What we feed is bravery. So if you're creating the Pavlovian response to something and you're trying to just create that classical response that something is good, there's no harm in treating, but that's not what he's doing here. She just demonstrated a behavior and now he's reinforcing it, as opposed to capturing her throughout the process and making sure that she's comfortable.
Go play with that puppy. That dog looks fast. So you can see Inertia's starting to open up a little bit. Oh, what's that? Oh, a little nervous there.
So this is the first indication that I'm seeing that she doesn't like to be chased. She was just playing with a smaller dog, which she looked pretty happy with. So maybe she enjoys smaller, more petite dogs to interact with, because this looks like it was like a lab or something was chasing her, and that did make her a little bit more sensitive.
Okay, so she's a little nervous there with a surprise. It's okay, good girl. She got a little defensive there, but she recovered really well from that. Oh, nice.
Hey, it's okay, it's okay.
Stop, easy, easy. So it's clear that, oh boy. Aw, when a dog comes on strong and fast to her, she doesn't like that so much. It's okay, easy, it's all right. Good job. Yes, good work, good job. Oh boy. I know, those dogs are big and scary, huh? They just want to play, it's okay.
So we just got a yawn and a lip lick, and again we're rewarding fear. One of the reasons positive reinforcement trainers get a bad rap is because they think that we just automatically give treats off to fear. We just automatically feed anything the dog is fearful of. And that's not at all the case. We reinforce bravery and we give the dogs opportunities to show bravery, not to demonstrate fear, so that when we're feeding them, we are feeding good things that we want to see more. And this is a prime example of a positive reinforcement trainer not understanding how to execute these techniques. Positive reinforcement on the whole is not the issue. The techniques are not the issue. The execution of those techniques is often the issue. And this is an exact example of that. People are going to see him coddling this fear, that yawn, that lip lick, holding her up high so that she has no escape, and she's likely, if a dog came up to them right now, she would have no choice but to fight. I mean, she might choose freeze, but given the fact that she's already had to aggress a couple of times, she would have no choice to choose fight, right? And the problem with this is that people are going to see this and think that that is positive reinforcement training, and it's not. It's not positive. This is not okay. And I do not want this representing me, but I don't want this representing what industry standard is. We are better than this, and this is very frustrating for me to see him continue to reinforce that fear instead of just letting her leave, instead of just letting her escape like she really, really wants to, so that you can give her more opportunities to be okay, to reinforce good behavior. He's keeping her in a situation where she's demonstrating unhealthy, unsafe behavior, and then literally treating that so that it's replicated in the future.
Even though her tail's still in between her legs here, she's a little thrown off, but I think she's just skeptical. But deep down, she wants to be friends and play with this dog, I can tell.
How can you tell? I mean, the thing is this is what gets me so frustrated, because when we're talking about true animal behaviors, when we're talking, and I'm not just talking about dog behaviors at this point, I'm talking about animal behaviors that have committed their life to understanding animal behavior, right? We very rarely just throw out, I can tell, and well, she probably wants to do this, and we very rarely give these, subjective impressions, and we only pinpoint what is actually visible, what is actually happening. And what is actually happening in that case was that her tail was tucked. She was doing the banana curve. They had a nice rotation. They were smelling nose to butt, which was good. It was healthy. They were off leash, but she was definitely showing some sensitivities. And he was right that was indicative of skepticism. But to say that, then turn around, well, but I can tell that she really wants to be his friend. I can tell. It's like, well, what about what you just saw makes us think that you can tell? I mean, if you are going to speak to 2-point-something million subscribers, you need to be able to tell us why you can tell in your dog that she's able to handle this.
Learning here. She looks a lot more comfortable under that bench. I'm gonna let her hang out under there as long as she wants.
Okay, finally. Finally, he's like, I'm gonna let her stay underneath the bench as long as she wants to. Yeah, that's what you should have done before in the parking lot when she was saying, I don't wanna move forward. You should have stayed there as long as she wants to. Why are you letting her freeze in moments that are way too late? You should be allowing her to freeze in moments and be apprehensive in moments that are safe.
Because her reaction was a little disproportionate in my view. But overall, she had a lot of really good experiences in there.
Her reaction was disproportionate. In your view, it's disproportionate only because you weren't paying attention to all of these other signals that she was demonstrating to you, showing that she was building in stress. It's not disproportionate to anyone with an eye who can see that she stopped in the parking lot, she had her tail tucked, she had stiff body language in the sit at the outside of the barrier, she was giving a lot of lip licks, she was crawling up your legs at the very beginning, she went and hid in the corner. How is that disproportionate? How is that surprising to you? How is that, unreasonable when you're the one who ignored all of these signs? Of course she had to build it out of proportion. Of course she had to start taking it to the next level because you weren't listening at the other levels. She was giving you these more reasonable reactions at the lower level. She was doing that and you weren't listening to any of that, so she had to take it up a notch. And now you're surprised and you're like, it's unreasonable. Guys, listen, I just get very upset when crap like this represents the positive reinforcement training community. He has a lot of subscribers, he has a lot of viewers, people take his word as gospel, and it's understandable. I mean, he's made a very successful career, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he's educated in these techniques and these more specifically that he's educated in the execution of these techniques. It's not enough to just be able to know the techniques off your head, like what is a capture and what is a lure and what is a shape. You need to be actually able to execute those when it counts. And when it counts is when your dog is fearful. It counts when your dog is cautious. It counts when your dog is alarmed and needs your help and you're not doing it the right way. It's no wonder why other trainers look at this, which represents positive reinforcement training, and goes, that's why positive reinforcement doesn't work. It's no wonder why people look at this and say, yeah, go figure this, that, you know, he's just fluff and treats and, you know, party. That's not what I do, and that's not what other professional, educated, positive reinforcement trainers do. We don't do that. We would never do that. We have a much more methodical, strategic, reasonable response to these things, and we definitely would not be reinforcing the fear that he is. We definitely would not be as oblivious as he is to those stress signals, and we definitely would not be surprised when the dog aggressed. I mean, this wasn't a surprise to anybody. Yeah, I mean, it hit the punchline at the very first 10 seconds of the video. I knew that she was inevitably going to aggress, so I kind of knew that already. But even if I hadn't, she had shown all of the signs throughout the entire day that this was going to happen. So I definitely would not have been surprised. If you're interested in more videos like this, make sure you like, hit subscribe. Tell me in the comments if you like this sort of honesty. And make sure to check out some of my videos. I'll see y'all soon.